Hi, Nicole Shepherd here, and I'm going to present my creative curricular experience for our signature assignment for SB 585. So, element one, we're going to focus on the contextual overview of this project that I had already created, but I made some tweaks to. So, my project is called the Random Acts of Kindness Project. This project came around because my district decided to implement this whole child initiative for one of our district goals. And the whole child initiative aims to address the needs of students through shared responsibility of students, families, schools, and communities. It is the job of those people to fully prepare students for college, for their career, and to be active citizens. 5 ways we can do this is to make sure that students are healthy, they are safe, they are engaged, they feel supported, and they are challenged. So that kind of allows you to understand how this project came about and why it came about. So, what is the Random Acts of Kindness Project? So, the Random Acts of Kindness Project is a project that focuses on students performing acts of kindness and understanding how kindness affects their lives as well as the lives of others around them. It is a way to make students empathetic and to show others affection. So, all very important things to make sure that students have hands on learning experience. Who was this designed for? This was designed for fourth grade students. This can be used in any grade, really, with tweaks here and there. But for the past 4 years, I've been using it with my fourth graders. Why did I decide to create this project? As I mentioned before, for our whole child initiative, as well as giving students the opportunity to have a hands-on learning experience and to focus on their emotional and social health. So it's important for students to act as responsible and contributing members of society. In terms of their emotional health, it's important we teach students how to make positive choices, how to react in certain situations, and things like that. And then for their social health, it's important that they make meaningful relationships with other people and that they are able to communicate with other people and interact with other people in a very healthy way. So I have completed this project, like I said, for the past 4 years. This past year, I did the project before the class was in full swing, so I was unable to implement these changes that I made. But our next section will kind of show you what I did to make this project more creative and kind of open those creative pathways for students to use. I hope to implement this new project or these tweaks in the project, I should say, in January 2022. So, element two is demonstration. So, I'm going to discuss what my project really is and how it kind of falls on the creative curricular checklist. So this is the project that I created. This is the packet that students are handed out. So the tangible packet that students are given every year, and this year it was done online. So on this first page, I have a letter explaining to families what this project entails. Throughout the year in my class, we do a lot of service learning activities and we do a lot of volunteer work. So students participate in a few different events throughout the year. The first one is around Thanksgiving. Students participate in a utensil wrapping for a local soup kitchen for Thanksgiving dinner. For December, we do an event with parents called Socks and Snacks, where parents come in and they, along with the children, create bags that contain socks and snacks for people who go to the same soup kitchen for Christmas dinner every year. And then we do another event in spring called Centerpieces for Spring, and we create centerpieces that are displayed on the tables for the same soup kitchen um, for their Easter dinner. We also do some fundraising events. So, our one big fundraising event that we do for our class is Red Nose Day, and we've been very successful so far. So, this is just another way to get students to know the importance of helping others out and giving back to their communities. So, basically, in this project, I asked students to complete five random acts of kindness throughout the month of January. After they complete their random acts of kindness. They write their random act of kindness on a heart that they color and then cut out. And then that is displayed on our bulletin board, which you'll see a picture of later. And then they also have to fill out a random acts of kindness reflection form, kind of explaining the random act of kindness that they did and why they chose to do that random act of kindness and how it made them feel. So before I even tell them what the project is about, I do this little writing activity where I kind of ask them what kindness is, what feelings they associate with kindness, and why they think it's important to be kind. This kind of gives me some information about what if students really know the impact that kindness can have on others and themselves, and kind of if they've been engaged in acts of kindness or doing good things for others. After that, we go through the definition of what random acts of kindness actually are. Then we talk about the benefits of practicing random acts of kindness. So there are actual health benefits associated with random acts of kindness that we discuss, not only for the person doing the random act of kindness, but also for the person receiving that random act of kindness. So, like I mentioned before, after students complete their random act of kindness, they write it on this heart, they color it, they cut it out. And then this is would be a reflections sheet for the random act of kindness they do at school. So again, discussing what that random act of kindness is, why they chose to perform it, and maybe some other feelings that they had or thoughts they had. So this is something that I actually created or added, I should say, after this course. And it's kind of a reflection form that focuses on different aspects that I want students to kind of understand at the end of the project. So the first one is, did you include following information in your project? So I did mention that students perform 5 random acts of kindness. So 1 random act of kindness needs to be performed at school. 2 random acts of kindness need to be performed at home. 1 random act of kindness needs to be performed in their community. And 1 random act of kindness is of their choice. So they can do that anywhere. Did they present their information accurately? Did they come up with a creative way to present their information? And did they come up with a random act of kindness that are not done very often? So, kind of maybe doing something that somebody else might not think of, or somebody might not consider to be an act of kindness, but it actually is. Then I actually grade the students on the basics of the project, nothing too crazy. It's only out of 16 points here. And then I give them some comments, one positive and then one suggestion that I have for them. So, looking at the checklist now, I kind of went through and discussed how my project hits certain things on that checklist. So, provides creative openings. So, while I did give students the criteria of where they needed to perform these random acts of kindness, it was up to them to do whatever they wanted for those acts of kindness, whatever they felt was appropriate in their environment and in the moment and what was going on around them. It connects to an academic content area, which we discussed earlier, health. There's a clear criteria for success. So there is a rubric that I have included that I showed you guys. Multiple opportunities for student feedback. So about halfway through the project, I'm going to allow students to kind of check in with one another in small groups, discuss maybe some acts that they've performed so far, how that's made them feel. Maybe they can bounce ideas off of each other of things that they could do, or things maybe they didn't think of doing, and things like that. Then another opportunity is during oral presentations. So I actually have students who are in the audience complete kind of a reflection form for their classmates who are presenting. So they discuss one thing that they learned, they discuss one thing they liked about the project, they discuss one question they have, and then they discuss one suggestion they have as well. And then they have the opportunity to raise their hand and share that with their classmate. And then after their presentation, the student who was presenting can collect all those feedback forms for immediate feedback, which is very, very nice. Opportunities for students to make changes throughout the project process. That's one area that I will discuss kind of later that I would like some feedback on. Work can be exhibited, as I mentioned before, it can be done through their oral presentation or a bulletin board. As you can see here, when we are in school, I do show all of their random acts kind of on the board to display for the month of February. And then in the other picture on the right, that was done this year through Zoom. So one of my students decided to display her hearts on a poster board that she created while she was presenting. So focus on the process. So yes, students can kind of focus on the process of the project by completing their random acts of kindness reflection form. So again, discussing what that random acts of kindness was, why they completed it, the feelings associated with it. And then again, informs instruction. That's an area that I would kind of like some more feedback on. So element 3 is kind of a summary and connecting the dots. So how this curricular experiences connects with key concepts covered in this course. Throughout this whole course, we've been reading about beautiful risks. So this project was a beautiful risk. You know, people all the time have students complete acts of kindness, right? And then they have them write them down on something and then they hang them up. I decided to take it a step further and really make my students think about the importance of completing these random acts of kindness. Why should we make others feel good? And then how does that make us feel in return? So I kind of took it a step deeper, um, and kind of, I didn't really know if it was going to go well. It is a little bit more of an involved project, but so far, knock on wood, 4 years going, and my kids really have been very receptive to this project and really do enjoy completing this project. Another part of this that kind of I believe is important to discuss is the idea of uncertainty and the unknown. So what I kind of tell my students in the beginning when I first introduce a project is that there is a part of this project that you don't know how others are going to react. Hopefully, people will react in a kind way and they will appreciate what you're doing for them, but sometimes they may not react at all. And sometimes they may be a little bit mean to you. So I kind of make my students aware that while they should be doing these nice acts for people, people may not be receptive to it and may kind of react in a negative way, and that they should be ready for it, and that while it might be upsetting at the time, it shouldn't discourage them from still helping people out. So where am I in my design process? Like I mentioned before, this is a project that I made 4 years ago and I just tweaked it after this class. So I'm basically done. The only thing I really need to complete is there's a mid check-in lesson that I would really like to write out. So kind of what I would want my students to focus on midway through the year, what I want those conversations in those small groups to be, what feedback I want students to get and things like that. I've found challenging in this process is that I can't monitor my students because this project is done outside of the classroom. So while I might see students doing little acts here and there in the classroom, ultimately I can't see what they're doing. I don't really know if they're actually doing the acts or they're just saying they're doing them, and kind of if they really understand the importance of the project. So I know some of them really do and other ones don't, but when I'm not seeing them really perform those acts in person, it's hard for me to tell how they are feeling about the acts themselves, and kind of how and why they are doing the acts. So I want them to be more organically doing these things rather than forced. And I know it's a project and they need to do them, but the way in which they do them should be very much like I mentioned before, in the moment. So what did I learn about creativity in myself? I learned that I need to lead by example. I try to instill in my students the thought of giving back. I've been very blessed in my life, and I have tried to give back any way that I can because I believe it's very, very important to make others feel better, especially in the world that we live in today. So I hope that I am leading by example and I am kind of providing my students with life skills that they need when they leave my classroom. So my goal as a teacher is not only to make them good students, but also to make them good people because the world we live in today, we need more people who are just kind and respectful for one another's for towards one another. And it might be a very juvenile thing to think that needs to be taught, but it really does, and it needs to be shown, and it needs to be definitely touched upon within the classroom so students can take that when they leave. So the two things that I hope that I give my students in fourth grade is one, the love of Harry Potter. And then two is just to be kind people, just to be nice, kind people and to respect others because I try and do that in my everyday life. And I hope that I show them that I do that and then they do that in their life as well. So, what questions do I have and what feedback would I like? Basically, as I mentioned before, how could students make changes throughout the process? They do have the opportunity to reflect on their random acts of kindness after they're done, but is there a way to kind of allow them maybe to think about the random act of kindness before they do it and think if it would be an impactful random act of kindness. So maybe some suggestions on that. And then how to inform instruction, maybe some follow up activities I could do after the project or some lessons I could do throughout the month of January while they're doing the project to kind of guide them on what they should be learning and things like that. So that is my signature assignment. I really appreciate you all listening. I wish you the best throughout the rest of this program. And thank you to Dr. Baguetto for this wonderful course. I feel like I learned a lot and I can't wait to use this in my teaching moving forward.